Some of it does appear to be transient or idiosyncratic.
Inflation has persisted longer than we thought.
You need a bit of a reset.
Welcome back to Real Estate Mindset. Today's video is gonna be absolutely bonkers. Now, the data is in, and if you're an investor that purchased in the last 6 months, you're about to get absolutely slammed. In fact, some investors have already started fire selling some of their properties. Example, Zillow. Zillow has lost so much money in their iBuyers program. They fire sold so many properties in December for under what they purchased them for, even though January through March had equity growth. So they threw away their money and they didn't even have to, which is really, really crazy. But the thing is, you guys, is as we continue to go into 2022 and as renters continue to stop making their rent payments, more and more investors are going to have no choice but to sell their property, fire sell their property. And that goes as well for people that own second homes. Now, it's possible that the people that own second homes will turn that into rentals unless we have a rental crisis. A rental crisis in America will only cause the trajectory of the problem to surge. So it's going to be really interesting to see how much inventory we actually start to get from investors. Now, we're going to unpack an article from Redfin today that's titled "Investor Home Purchases Plateau but Remain Well Above Pre-Pandemic Levels." So I'm about to show you guys like how big the investor problem really is in America. These numbers kind of take me off guard. And something interesting to note that I'm doing a separate video about is right now, okay, according to the Census Bureau August 2nd release, there are over 15 million, okay? There are over 15 million homes right now that are sitting vacant. Isn't that wild to you? 15 million homes right now are sitting vacant. Now, I'll have another video on that. But regardless, you guys, do me a favor, hit like. Okay, I'm not going to go into my whole bio, even though it is as a shark fisherman, thumbnail, cinematographer, someone that loves helping people, father. I love watching scary movies. Okay, that's my bio if you wanted to do it. Some people hate my bio and hate my intro. So for those people, I'm going to start trying to put in my description when the actual article starts. But the thing is, you guys, my intro is something that I need to do as a content creator because I need to talk to my subscribers. So I really don't only like reading off of the article. I really want to talk to some of you guys and develop a relationship. So I'm always trying to kind of share about what I'm going through. So forgive me for the long intros. I get it. So let's hop into this article right now. Investors scooped up more homes in the second quarter than before the pandemic, but purchases leveled off from their 2021 peak as investors reacted to the slowing housing market in different ways. Some took advantage of cooling competition and elevated rental demand, while others pressed pause in hopes of lower prices and more economic certainty in the future. And the thing is there's actually more uncertainty now. Real estate investors purchased 87,500 US homes in the second quarter, up 11% quarter over quarter. That's insane. 5.9% year over year. That's down from an all-time high of 93,700 in the third quarter of 2021, the height of the pandemic-driven home buying frenzy. Still, investors are buying far more homes than they were before the pandemic. They purchased roughly 60,000 homes per quarter. That is crazy, you guys, per quarter in 2019. So, again, now that we're starting to see year over year price declines, now that we're starting to see rent declines, now that, I believe it's over 6% of renters are no longer paying their rent. I think because the investors actually took a huge share of the houses, I believe that we are going to see probably at the end of this year and into 2023, we're going to start seeing an inventory dump from investors. I'm almost positive that because they purchased in the bubble. There's so many people. Look at, it's almost the record high purchasing in Q2 of 2022. So now that we had this decline, all of those people, the 87,000 houses, we may see a lot of those come back to the housing market. So, keep our eyes on that. A lot of people are like, oh, how are we going to have hyper inventory? How are we going to have it? People have low interest rates. And I'm saying, well, there's going to be a surge of inventory from new builders, obviously, and from investors. So that's going to be very interesting to watch and to monitor. But what I really want to do is put things in perspective. That's roughly, okay, Q2 of 2022, that's roughly 20%. 20% of sales going to investor. Think about that. 20%. It's really, really important that if you're a potential first-time homeowner, you got to prepare. Okay. I think that this is going to just get worse. I think we're going to have a small window, like I said, of buying opportunity. It actually may bleed out for several years, but I think that we're going to have a sharp price drop. And at that time, we got to get back in the market, because if we don't, I'm telling you guys, there are investors that are just waiting. Right now, they're just waiting. Okay. And I'm talking about like the big investors, Blackstone, BlackRock, they're waiting. A lot of investors will be hurt, but the ones that are super duper big, who knows what they're going to do. All right. So let's keep our eyes on that. Let's jump back into this article right now. All right. So let's read this. Investor market share has also started to level off, but remains above pre-pandemic level. Investors bought 19.4% of homes that sold in the second quarter, down slightly from a record 20.1% in the first quarter. The first drop after nearly 2 straight years of increases, but it's up from 16.2% a year earlier and roughly 15% per quarter in 2019. So I want to, and I'll read this down here, but I want to go over this chart with you. Now, I did a video about Dave Ramsey, and I told you guys I don't like doing those types of videos, but I only did that because I had an overwhelming amount of comments, and my subscribers were like, please respond, please tell us, about Dave Ramsey. He's a huge influencer, but it felt yucky, attacking a man like that. But I just wanted to point out that in his video, I believe he says that institutional investors, I think it was 25%, it may be 20%, but institutional investors accounted for 20 to 25% of the market share. The reality is the highest it ever went to is 20%, but that's only out of that 20%. Roughly 25% are institutional investors, which means it's really only 5%. So going by that formula, only 5% of the market share is actually to institutional investors, despite Dave Ramsey saying 20 to 25%. He also goes on to say that investor demand back in like 2008 was zero. And it's, as you can see here, is, according to it looks like the second quarter of 2008, they were actually over 10%, right? So, that's why, I kind of have trouble with his data, because again, people aren't taking into consideration this isn't a normal seasonal market. This is a really crazy market. But I found that's interesting. Let's finish this. This is according to a Redfin analyst of county records across 40 of the most populous U.S. metropolitan areas. We define an investor as an institution or business that purchases residential real estate. It dates back to the first quarter of 2000. The data is subject to revision. See the bottom of this report for the full methodology. In dollar terms, investors purchased a record $60.1 billion worth of real estate in the second quarter, up from $50.5 billion in the first quarter and $54.5 billion a year earlier. So the investors second quarter purchased $60 billion in real estate. So now ask yourself, what happens if the market drops 20%, right? They lose, just for that quarter, $12 billion. And if that happens, I'm pretty sure that other investors are going to say, well, maybe we should sell now instead of holding and losing even more money. That's a possibility, especially if they can't collect rent, right? Very, very interesting to point out, you guys. Let's jump back into this article right now. While investor purchases have leveled off, they haven't slumped like home purchases in the broader market. A sign that the market cooled down is a motivator for some investors. Many of them took advantage of the slowdown in the for-sale housing market when dwindling homebuyer competition presented opportunities to buy homes, and that could be turned into rentals. And what I'm saying is those people that did that, they're losing equity. They're going to lose equity. There's no doubt about that. And it's possible, because a lot of people aren't paying rent, that they're also not going to collect rent, right? Let's continue. While rent growth has slowed, it's still up 14% year over year, and has prohibitively high home prices kept rental demand afloat. But the fact that investors are purchasing fewer homes than they were at the height of the pandemic illustrates that other investors, likely those who flip homes for a quick profit rather than rent them out, are shying away amid economic uncertainty and the daunting possibility of buying high and selling low. The typical home investors bought in the second quarter cost a record $474,000. Wow, a big jump from $427,000 a quarter earlier and $423 a year earlier. That is a lot of home right there to invest in for a rental. The cool down in the overall housing market motivates some investors and scares others off. Investors are contending with sky-high home prices just like other buyers. Those who plan to turn homes into rentals are still in the market because high rental payments help offset the cost of the home, and the home will likely grow in value over time. Others are motivated by discounts from home builders looking to sell off extra inventory. I'm excited about that, but there's no way I'm buying right now as individual buyers pull back. But investors in the flipping business have quicker turnaround times, so they're shying away because the prospect of falling home prices means they may lose money when they relist in 6 months or a year. So all of those flippers right now, I'm going to tell you, all those flippers that purchased in the last 3 to 6 months are in trouble because the year over year price declines they're coming out this year. I'm telling you guys, they've already hit 2 cities. We have year over year price declines in 2 California metro areas. It's probably much worse than that. Investor purchases probably won't bounce back until 2021 levels, but they'll likely remain more common than before the pandemic because the housing market is stable compared with today's volatile stock market. Is the housing market stable? Those who buy properties as rentals will still cash in with high demand and vacancies near record lows, but investors will be less of a roadblock for regular buyers as the housing market slowdown reduces competition. Investors and individual buyers who can afford to purchase homes have a leg up because other prospective buyers have been priced out. And that's why I'm telling you guys, I don't believe there's like an army of people on the sidelines that are weathering the storm waiting to purchase. I believe most people were forced to the sidelines because they no longer qualify. They have been priced out. So we really got to check our emotions no matter what side of the coin that we're on. Now, in conclusion, here's what I would like to say. If we don't start empowering ourselves, if we don't start taking control and helping other people, we will become a nation of renters, and we cannot let that happen. So understand my message. I'm saying it's great to invest and own real estate. I'm saying renting is trash. However, we are in a very rare moment in history where it actually makes more sense to rent. That's what I'm telling you. I'm saying the longer we wait, the better the deal. But that's only going to last so long, right? So definitely continue to watch your local housing market. I really hope you guys got value today. And if you're out there investing in real estate, I do wish you luck and I hope you win.